special attention needs to be paid to the continuous evolution and progression of the minority language in bilingual schools. This is due to the typically lower status of the minority language, the Anglophone nature of much mass media, and the dominance of common denominator majority languages outside the school. Such bilingual schools can considerably develop the minority language learnt at home so that it has more uses and potentially can be used in more domains, e.g. reading, writing, preparation for employment. The child's use of the home language is raised to a much higher level of complexity, communication, competence and confidence. The school will widen vocabulary, deepen meanings, teach conventional syntax and help with the standardization of the minority language, e.g. new terminology in information technology. The school also gives the minority language status, esteem and market value to its students. Teaching English as a foreign or as a second language, or any language, has traditionally followed the autonomous model as an ideology-free literacy. The ideological model, on the other hand, sees English language teaching and learning as practices involving values, risks of identity change, and other complicated social concerns, because English as a value-laden language forces its idiosyncratic values upon its learners. However, embedding English teaching in a social context does not mean rejecting all the values it carries with it or lead to seeing English literacy in terms of identity politics. 2015 offers a constructive approach. We can also talk about a literacy being liberating, powerful, if it can be used as meta-language, or a meta-discourse, a set of meta-words, meta-values, meta-beliefs for the critique of other literacies and the way they constitute us as persons and situate us in society. The implication of such a view is that there is no English teaching approach immune to ideologies, and the topics we teach in English, based on the lived experiences of the learners, have a potential to empower individuals to develop an active role in society where they are a minority.
It's a real pleasure to be here and to listen to the speeches from Florida and Utah about their extraordinary achievements. It's also a privilege to be a member of Governor Mike Huckabee's Commission on the Arts in Education. It's very significant that the ECS has taken this theme for Governor Huckabee's chairmanship, and an honor to be invited to speak about it today. I ought to start with a confession. I'm not actually from America. I'm from the UK, and I moved out here 4 years ago at the invitation of the Getty Center in California. There are many similarities between the UK and America, so in moving from Europe to America you do feel instantly at home in a lot of respects. There are many challenges we have in common, and high among them are the challenges that face education. Every country in the world is currently reforming its education system. So in the few minutes that we have, I want to put an international frame on what's happening here in the States, and especially on the ECS initiative, the arts in education, and Governor Huckabee's commitment to it.
The status of English as a lingua franca brings with it a series of connotations that considers language as a commodity to access symbolic goods, aiding individuals' self-actualization, to positions denouncing that English encourages the displacement of minority languages and their corresponding literacy practices. Philipson, 2013. This latter view sees English as a form of cultural colonization which imposes dominant alien values and practices over non-dominant groups. The inability to use English has been a debate in the United Kingdom as well as in other English-speaking countries where people who are not competent in the dominant language are, by far, singled out as illiterate, an assumption that does not take into consideration that those individuals may be literate in one, or maybe more, languages. The teaching of English to speakers from different linguistic backgrounds in a cross-cultural context, as Pennycook, 1994, argues, is not simply teaching language facts, but teaching a way of living and a mode that can subvert their native identities.
Schools and classrooms are highly complex organizations. They are sites where there are a multitude of actions and reactions, inputs and processes, variables and changing environments, and differing local, regional and national expected learning outcomes, targets and outputs. The formula for success is never simple, partly as success is diversely defined and understood, and partly as perceived effectiveness varies across person, administration, region and time. Also, the mixture of factors affecting effectiveness is so complex that simple recipes are impossible. Effectiveness inevitably goes far beyond language medium and language outcomes, to embrace the full education of a student. Ultimately, effectiveness is about what is deemed best for the child and society, and not just for the future of a language. However, there is sufficient international research, grounded wisdom and accumulated expertise to make it possible to suggest key factors that need discussion and interpretation in effective bilingual schools and classrooms. This chapter attempts to provide a menu for that dialogue.